In this section of Test Flight School, we'll discuss various kits and loadouts for the Scythe. Generally speaking, if you're enjoying flying a Scythe, you'll eventually want to get into dogfighting. Because of that, that's mostly what I'll focus on. By default, you come loaded out with a Sauron laser cannon and external afterburner fuel tanks. The Sauron laser cannon is not a particularly good weapon, but it's not particularly poor either, because of its large magazine size and lots of ammunition. You can generally burst fire it in order to start practicing getting beads on targets. Eventually though, you'll want to get the Hailstorm Turbo Laser. It only costs 250 certs, so while you're practicing dogfighting, you can eventually save up or just buy for $5 the Turbo Laser. That's the Vanu Sovereignty's rotary. When you get the Hailstorm Turbo Laser, the main certs that you want to look towards are going to be your magazine maximum ammo capacity and your magazine size. The Hailstorm Turbo Laser starts out with 40 bullets in one magazine. This is just under enough to take out one ESF if you were to hit every bullet. If you get magazine size 2, which is just 5 more rounds, and you land every bullet, you can destroy a Reaver or a Mosquito outright before they have any idea they're being attacked. So it is recommended you max out magazine size. Because the end goal is for you to become a better pilot, you shouldn't worry about maxing out acquisition timer. It's a waste of certs. But getting it up to level 4 or 5 is relatively cheap and makes the Scythe timer down to about 7 to 8 minutes. This is generally how long you'll be able to survive in the air once you're around plateau level 2, which hopefully you'll be at if you go through flight training one day in practice. Under the utility slot, we have two realistic options. You have the option of decoy flares, which are particularly popular on Madison because of the amount of lock-ons. And then you have fire suppression, which doesn't really suppress fires so much as it just takes you up to 20% health. So, if timed correctly, your Scythe will have 120% health as long as this is active. This can save you from a rotary that's unloading on you. Decoy flares, on the other hand, stop lock-ons. Once decoy flares is maxed out, along with vehicle stealth, there is generally only a 15-second window when anyone can even fire a missile at you, or even attempt to lock on. During that window, it's generally pretty easy in order to fly around in order to use flares again, or lose the missile entirely. If you're going to go after fire suppression, you'll want to keep on to the external afterburner fuel tanks. For missiles that you can't lose the lock on, or that you can't get to run into the ground, you can always use the external afterburner in order to outrun the missile. If you do get fire suppression, it's suggested you get the nanite auto repair system maxed out. There'll be many times where there'll be a 5-second lull in combat, or when you're just flying around. Because of that, this will repair you to max. Fewer landings means more time in air. More time in air means you're successfully acting the air deterrent. As a new pilot though, I suggest everyone gets vehicle stealth level 1. This means you don't show up on the radar or the minimap. until you are either spotted or you fire your gun. Although your scythe still has a unique sound signature that most experienced pilots will notice, newer pilots will not know you are coming until you open fire. Vehicle stealth, along with an upgraded capacity Hailstorm turbo laser, means that you can sneak up behind inexperienced pilots and unload on them before they realize there is even danger. Under performance, you have three options. In the last video, we talked about skill plateaus and skill ceilings. For the most part, all these frames are player preference. The dogfighting frame will improve your turn, which is your yaw, your roll, and your general agility in a scythe. Hover stability increases your air brake, your vertical thrust, and your ability to not react as much to gravity. Because of this, that allows you to stop instantly. Stopping instantly allows you to go into the reverse maneuver. Dogfighting will allow you to quickly beat targets and keep track of them if they try and fly over you. The Racer high-speed airframe increases your cruising and afterburner speed. When maxed out, you can quickly get the jump on targets and get out of combat. At the highest level of skill ceiling, when everyone has the exact same experience and is generally needing only slight advantages in order to win, the only thing that really counts is top speed. That's why many experienced pilots are switching over to the Racer high-speed airframe and maxing it out, as well as keeping the external afterburner fuel tanks. And then throwing in things like the fire suppression system and the night auto repair. The longer they can stay in the air, the better off they are. But since that will take you many, many, many hours in order to get to that level, I suggest you just get one of these, and it doesn't matter which. Each one will make it easier for you to land and easier for you to control your ESF. Try them all out in VR and figure out which one just feels better for you. It doesn't matter which. I personally use Hoverframe 3 and the Racer high-speed airframe, depending on what I want to do. But dogfighting is really fun to use. Your other options for weapons are the photon pods and the air-to-air missiles. Although the light PPA was recently upgraded, and now it better fills the role of a poor man's rocket pods, I still don't suggest it for people interested in flying, because I would rather have you dogfighting. With that in mind, dual photon pods can act as an air-to-ground weapon, or can be used as dumbfire rockets against Liberators or other ESFs. Because of their slow projectile speed, which is around 300 meters per second, it's generally hard to beat a target that's far away, so you're only going to be able to hit inexperienced targets with them, or land a couple hits on a stationary Liberator. Because of that, I don't suggest them. But if you do want to farm infantry, they are the best thing for it. The photon air-to-air missiles are a hot topic of discussion for any ESF pilot. To put it simply, all you have to do is equip these, and then keep your reticule over a target you would like to shoot a missile at. Once the lock is acquired, you can fire it, and it will do pretty decent damage. Basically 2 in order to get a ESF on fire. It doesn't have very much ammo capacity, and when maxed out, you can only get 10 missiles in reserve. Under weapon utility, if you decide to use air-to-air missiles, the only thing that you should really be worried about is lock-on time. Because Liberators only have 1 second before they're locked on, air-to-air missiles are a great weapon if you want to put in your secondary slot so you can lib hunt. When maxed out, it only takes 0.6 seconds in order to lock on to a Liberator, of which you can fire, switch to your Hailstorm while you're reloading, unload your Hailstorm, and switch back to your lock-on rockets, and fire another. This is the fastest way to DPS a Liberator. And, as a Liberator pilot, this is the most aggravating thing that can happen to you. Photon air-to-air missiles can also be used as a deterrent. If you see 2 ESFs in the air chasing one of your guys, you can send a rocket after one of them. They will have to deal with it one way or another, and then you could use your Hailstorm to chase down the other. Even if you don't kill both of them, you successfully gazed chaos into the arena. It is not recommended you use air-to-air missiles for dogfighting against another ESF. The lock-on time is 3 seconds, and if you max out stealth, it's 4 seconds. Like we mentioned earlier, it's very easy to break line of sight. But you can still use them to punish inexperienced pilots. A common setup I use right now for my Hailstorm Turbo Laser is magazine size 4 with night vision and ammo capacity. Night vision just helps you see targets at night that are otherwise not cued. It has a 200 meter range, which is generally around the range that you would introduce a dogfight. Depending on the situation, I will then use external afterburner fuel tanks if I just want to have fun dogfights. Or, if I need to act as a successful air deterrent, I will equip the air-to-air missiles. I don't have any zoom optic on them, because you don't need one. I then have lock-on time maxed out, and maxed ammo. This allows me to successfully DPS a Liberator very quickly. For utility slot, I use decoy flares. Because I don't have the external afterburner when I'm lib hunting, I need the flares in order to get rid of lock-ons. And because Liberators are normally under bases that are being attacked by friendly forces, I do normally run into areas where lock-ons are abundant. Under defense, I've been running with vehicle stealth, because again, I lib hunt. But I've been recently switching to nanite auto repair. Under performance, I'm still a huge fan of hover frame 3 for its air brake. This is a common setup I use. Again, the alternate setup. I still use decoy flares. I don't believe fire suppression is as useful for scythes as it is for Liberators. Putting the racer high-speed frame on and external afterburner fuel tanks in a scythe allows us to get up to speed with the other ESFs, since we are the slowest. This allows me to quickly get an advantage on a target, dive down on it from above, and use my Hailstorm Turbo Laser to deal a lot of damage. If you have any questions about possible loadouts, be sure to send me a message on either YouTube, Reddit, or through TeamSpeak. If you have no idea how to make an air-to-ground scythe with rocket pods, do not send me questions. I will not answer them.